All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome. I can see 7 of you already watching. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have something interesting. First, I've been thinking since we're working on an AI application, right? I've been thinking, why don't we include AI generated music in the background? I mean, wouldn't that be cool? So, to warm up to the stream, I'm actually going to edit my live streaming configuration so that we can play some like chill background music that is AI generated. That's also generated, hold on. It's also generated using my Vitals. So I have this thing, let me actually share my screen so I can show you. I have this application called Endel. And I think it's a German startup, an AI application that generates AI soundscapes. And they're pretty cool. I use it to like focus and, when I'm learning, when I'm doing stuff like that. And I reached out to them about potentially using Endel for like a background music in YouTube. And they were fine. They were fine with that. So let's actually do that. Let me turn on. Oh, it's already on, I think. No, it's not. I did a couple of restarts. All right, so Endel. Okay, there we go. I can hear it. You can't, though. Felipe, morning. Hakan, good morning. All right, so I got the music going. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. How can we do this? I'm gonna open Loopback. This is an application that allows me to do some cool stuff with audio. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a new virtual device and name it Endel to stream. So I'm not gonna get the pass-through. I'm actually gonna add Endel the application. There we go. Delete this one. Oh, come on. So Endel is playing now, you see? And it goes to the output. Okay, so that should be good. And that means I can add it in my OBS as an audio input. You can't see this because if I bring it, it's going to be basically here's how I'm adding this. I'm gonna search for Endel stream, and it might get loud. So brace yourselves. Okay. Hey, there we go. So you can hear me, right? I can see like the bars are moving. And there's also the music in the background, right? Welcome back. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. You can hear me. The music is not overpowering, right? I can't hear how loud the music is for you because I control it from my end here, and I can even like mute it and not hear it at all. No music. Maybe it's like I guess it's like too quiet. How about now? Man, I should have done this. Probably should have done this before the stream. But okay, yeah. Let me know if you can hear just like at least a little bit of music. Because it's pretty chill, I like it. I want to share that with all of you. Why should I be the only person who's enjoying this? Very good. All right. Hey, Harsh. Yeah, the idea is to like have something in the background. Is it good? My wife is over there. I'm just asking if she can hear my voice and the music as well. Let me know. It shouldn't be overpowering. More music? Or more voice? More music. All right, let's bring up the music. Low volume music will be good. Yeah. You can't hear this? Okay, let me see. Here's what we're gonna do. Now you can hear me. Now you can hear me, both me and the music, but how's the volume? I'm going to tune down the music and make my microphone louder. Now my voice is not good. Hey, Bulva. All right, this turns to be a bit more complicated, you know, than I thought it would be. All right, so let me know if this is all right. So we have the music and on like 24%. Now it's good. All right, good. So this is my microphone and this is the music. It's on like 24%. If that's good, yeah, do let me know. Good now. Beautiful. All right, thank you so much for debugging this with me. Let's actually change this because there are modes as well. Where is Endel? There is Endel. Oh, I need to also change the... I also need to change the resolution. So I'm gonna bring this down to 1920 by 1080. There we go. Now things need to be bigger and more legible. There we go. All right, so check this out. All right, so it takes into account... Hey Mike, thanks for joining. It takes into account, let me just adjust my microphone. It takes into the account the like my location and like how the weather outside. It's cloudy, right? I'm in Toronto. So what is the time? There's like this thing, not like a circadian rhythm, but like a different type of rhythm that goes up and down throughout the day based on your energy levels. And I'm also wearing my Apple Watch, so it gets all my beats per minute, my BPM, like how fast my heart is beating. And according to all of that, it does that, you know, it generates music for my situation. So I just wanted to share that with you. And there are like focus, soundscapes, relax, and sleep. We are gonna go to focus and study, because that's what we're doing. Yeah, you see how it changed, but it changed like flawlessly. It's not a song. Really cool stuff. Tell me if 20%, 24% is too much. I can see the broadcast meters and I think it's too much. Let's try 15. I think I should stay below. Okay, is it good? Now it's good. There we go. All right, my producer just told me that it's good. Cool. So we'll keep it at 12%, minus 30, not above minus 30 decibels. Cool. All right, now we can begin. Welcome everyone. We got 13 people watching. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's do a little. I knew this was gonna happen, of course. Yeah, I'm actually going to update this to be better, but no sound. Yeah. Weird. All right, technology. What can you do? But yeah, I was saying, welcome to all 16, and now it's 15. We dropped someone. Welcome all. Just a quick recap of, for example, why we're doing this series. We want to learn Python, we want to learn Django and machine learning as well, and AI. So we started this series by building an application for like an AI resume application where you upload a CV and it uses AI to compare it against job listings, like public job listings, and it gives you optimizations tips. Like you can, for example, for this particular position at this company, you should write this and write that, and etc., etc. Like, if you know, to maximize the chances. Whether we actually, hey Gabriel, whether we actually achieve that or not doesn't matter. We are approaching this as an through an educational aspect. Basically, we want to learn everything from a new language to a new framework to like a new technology like machine learning, right? So that's what we're doing here. So let's go into code, switch back into code. I can see my audio is working, so we should be good. What we did so far is set up like a monorepo type of thing, where we have an API that is the Django application for the backend, and we're only going to use it as an API, not as like a server that renders HTML, just plain API. And we also have a web application that is just plain React with React router in case we want to do some server-side rendering later on. And if you didn't know, React Router v7 is actually Remix. Okay, so that's web, that's API. I also included a Docker Compose file where we are spinning up a local database, right? We are going to be using Postgres, and it looks like this. And there's also a migration script that triggers the migrate command that comes built into Django. So when we are building our models, we're actually going to just trigger migrate, and if we're doing any changes, it's going to generate the changes SQL for us. It's going to push it and apply it to the database when we do Docker Compose up. So let's actually go and boot up the database. If we do Docker PS, we'll see no running containers. And because we are in the root, we can do Docker Compose up. And there we go. We are spinning up the database, and now the migration script is going to kick in. We don't have any migrations to perform because we don't have any models, but we'll get there. So when we add new models, there's going to be some more output here. Yeah. And I'm going to be making also a lot of mistypes because I recently changed the layout of my keyboard, so it's like I'm typing on the keyboard for the first time in my life. But yeah. Okay, so far what we have done is we created a users. We just focus on the backend. It's very strange, but during the last stream I wasn't able to write in the chat. It's good that you can now. And I saw you wrote a message to me on Discord. I don't know why. I mean, I do have the subscribers only turned on, so maybe that was, misbehaving somehow. I don't know, but I'm glad that you can write now. All right, so yeah, we created a users application in our Django project, and applications are like these individual logical units, applications that can be, the idea is for them to be pluggable, right? We have everything according to users, like around users. We're gonna create an application for the users. We have everything around resumes. We're gonna create a resume application, right? So that's the general idea, and that's like how Django is built. which looks like domain-driven design, right? We have all of these domains. We have the user's domain, we have the resumes domain. These are basically also the models that we're going to be creating, and you know, the migrations that we're going to be applying. But yeah, that's basically what we have here. And we looked into just using Django as a plain API, just like a plain REST API. There were some issues with CSRF tokens, because it's expecting when we send an HTTP request. Jonas, how's it going? They pretty good. So it expects the CSRF token, which is like for security. It's basically a little token that gets added to forms as like a hidden input. You don't see it on the screen, but it's there. And when the users submit the form, Django will check for that token or whatever the backend is. And if that's the token that it generated for that session, then we're good, right? Otherwise, it's gonna block it or like decline the request, because it's going to mark it as like a security issue, right? So Django comes built in with that. We tried disabling some of those things in the settings.py. As you can see here, here's the CSRF view middleware and the Xframe options. There's even a security. We disabled that one as well. We didn't manage to make it work because, yeah, we are still learning all of these things. So in order to make our lives easier, we decided to not refactor, but actually go with the Django REST framework route, which is, let me actually open a window here, a tab, so that we can also Google some stuff. Django REST framework. There we go. So this is and I'm going to magnify this. There we go. This is a framework on top of Django, or like a tool. Yeah, it's a toolkit that's on top of Django, that is basically making your life easier when you want to just build web APIs instead of, you know, rendering servers, basically. So it took care of that CSRF issue for us, and we are happy. Let me actually get Discord up here. Okay. So we implemented this, it fixed our issue, and now, and the last thing that we were met with was an issue or lack of understanding when it comes to the Django REST URL. We couldn't understand why, when we wanted to use the router, we couldn't use the router, and that's just like my expectations getting into a new tool and a new framework without, you know, with my JavaScript background, for example. So I did some light reading, not like too much. I don't know everything now, but I did some light reading, and it turns out, if you followed last stream, Boyan says, hi, you have a really good channel. Thanks, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Right, so if you remember from last stream, we went through this tutorial and we were looking at the tutorial, and there was a router, right? And there's a router. We are building an API. That means we are going to have multiple endpoints, and we want to register them with their handlers, right? But there's also like there we go, include routers.url, but there's also like some stuff that are not covered with the router. So I was confused. If DRF, which is Django REST framework, if DRF comes with a router, why shouldn't we just use the router? Turns out that we use the router only when we want to generate URLs without explicitly defining them. And there's only one case when we want to do that in DRF, which is when we're using view sets. So it's like a set of views, right? A view is an endpoint. This is a set of endpoints, right? We don't explicitly define them, but we use the router to define, or to basically generate all of those URLs or views in that set. So that took some reading, but I finally, wrapped my mind around it, and now I understand it. The mistake that we did was that we tried to register the login route with the router, right? And this is not a view set. This is a single endpoint that this is going to be the endpoint, right? /users/auth/login. Or maybe we should change that. Maybe we should create a new application for authentication and just, use authentication in this case. I think that's going to be much smarter than mixing users and authentication. Those two are working together, but they're not really the same, right? We're going to do this today, basically. But we don't have view sets. View sets are basically, for example, let's say we have resumes, and the standard RESTs or a CRUD approach would be create resume, update resume, delete resume, read all the resumes, read a single resume by ID, etc. Standard endpoints for CRUD operations. That's basically a view set. If we wanted to create a view set for the resumes, if you wanted to create all of those routes without explicitly defining them, we'll create a view set, right? Create resume, update resume, etc., etc. And that's what we're going to put into the router. But in our case, when we have a single specific endpoint, like login, that's not a view set. That's not going to go into the router. It's just going to go directly in the URL patterns, which is also another thing that I found out. I expected that if we're using the router, we would just export whatever the router spits out and not use the URL patterns, right? That's wrong. We're still exporting URL patterns. This, right? For example, URL patterns is a list of objects, and every object is something, right? For example, in this case, it's whatever the path definition returns, a URL pattern of that type. So we're always going to return URL patterns, and it's always going to be a list of objects. We're not going to return anything else. If we have a router, aka if we have at least one view set that we want to generate URLs for, we're going to just append router.urls to the URL patterns and then still return the URL patterns. So to me, this is the application's URLs. That means if we go to the main URLs file here, there is nothing DRF related here, right? We're just including, let me actually hide my camera for this. We're including the URLs from this application, the users. We give it a namespace, and that's it. This file has zero idea that this application uses DRF inside. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. So this is what the pluggability means. And I didn't understand it yesterday. I did even a really short rant. I did a really short rant on how can we make this pluggable when we're actually, pulling in dependencies and stuff. But it actually is, in a way, right? Let's say that this is a different project and it's not using DRF. If we pull in the user's application and the user's application internally uses DRF to define the URLs, etc., we can just plug it, add DRF as a dependency. Of course, we have to. There's no other way, right? And but we're not gonna need to refactor this part, because we might include a different application that uses Ninja for the REST API router. It's still gonna be the same. We're just gonna add Ninja as a dependency. Now, adding multiple dependency and pulling, some random technologies in a single project, that is not really a good, developer habit. It's a bad idea. If you're using a single router, try to use a single router for everything. Or refactor it so your application does not depend on, too much dependencies, because that's bad. But That's what pluggability means. That means that we have applications in Django. Our application, right? The name, I don't know. We still haven't landed on a name. We just call it a millionaire. It's a joke because we're building AI, so we're gonna become millionaires. But our application, Millionaire, is basically a project in Django. That's the project Millionaire, but it has multiple applications inside. But I like to call them domains because it helps me understand them better, right? We have the user's domain, the model, the database model is in there, the API router is in there, all of the operations that are executed on top of users are in there. Users is just like one nicely packed logical package that can be plugged into multiple projects. Let's say our next application is still gonna be Django, and I don't wanna do all of the authentication stuff from scratch. I'm just gonna go into Millionaire project, copy the user's application and just like plug it in. That's it, right? That's the pluggability idea. And that's why we also need to always return URL patterns, regardless if we're using DRF or not, okay? So, really important thing to know. Cool. Now, since we have this out of the way, oh yeah, there's also like a format suffix patterns. We could read more into this, but I don't know what I have no idea what it is. We should log it out and see like before and after. But it's I don't know, it's gonna do something to it, I guess. It's based on the DRF, see? REST framework. Cool. Now I want to start from scratch. We learned what DRF is and like what's the purpose of DRF basically. It generates URLs, it's a router, it allows us to do like classes and stuff. Now let's actually do proper authentication. So I'm not going to keep this users application. I'm actually going to create a new auth application. We're gonna be using inside, we're gonna use the users table because that's, it also comes from Django, by the way. Battery is included, users included. So we are going to create a new application for authentication, and we're gonna try to build authentication in a way that if our next project is Django, we can just like plug, just like rip it out of this project, put it into this project. That project is probably going to use DRF as well, and we'll be happy, right? We have authentication, pluggability. Okay, so let's try that. The way we create applications, here in Django is by using that built-in Python manage.py. Oh, there we go. Start app. You see, create a Django app directory in this project directory. Oh, I need a name now. Okay, we're gonna call it auth. So if we go back to the project, you see this auth? This is our new application. So we're gonna be building the API in this application, not in the users. We're just gonna copy a bunch of things that we've done so far from users to the auth, and that's, we're just gonna continue in the auth application. And Vegeta says, hey Lazar, what about making an Android app using Jetpack Compose? I haven't done Jetpack Compose in a long time. I think like 2 years. 2 years at this point, yeah. Ooh. There's probably a lot of new things that I can't really jump into right now. But I'm also doing that with Django, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. But yeah, we're focused on web development right now. All right, let's start. What we need to do first is define the URLs. So when you create an application in Django, it doesn't come with a urls.py. It's not even a thing. We can call it whatever we want. This is just gonna be imported, and that's like it's a convention. If you define URLs in your application, just like add a urls.py file and that's it. Okay, so our new file is here, the old file is here. We're gonna copy some stuff from django.urls import path from REST framework URL patterns, import the format. We should understand what this does. So fix underscore patterns. Then we have views, which again are, damn it, which are basically the endpoints. They're called views because Django was initially a server-side rendering framework, and I think like out of the box it is a server-side rendering framework, and that's why it's called views, basically, because you're defining views that get rendered onto the screen. Okay, the application name in this case is gonna be just auth, right? The URL pattern, oh, there we go. That's the old muscle memory, and now we need to build a new one, and that was like this. There we go. We're gonna use the path. This is auth, and we'll just say login. It's already auth. We have views, but we don't have any views, so we'll just create a new one, views.login as underscore view. And then we'll just, we're actually not gonna do this, we're just gonna do this basically. Format, suffix, patterns. Oh, not those, but those. Cool. See that? There we go. Okay, so view, the login view is gonna complain because it doesn't exist, but we'll just build it. So we'll go into views here. There's our views, and we're also going to, actually, let me do this better. Put not URLs here, put the views here. There we go. So this is the login view. You know what? I'm just gonna copy it. Save this, go back, and I'm actually gonna scrap users because we don't have anything. We don't have models, we don't have anything. So I'm just gonna delete users here. Users don't exist anymore. So we need to go back to settings, close this one because we're not gonna need it. And instead of users, we're gonna do auth because that's our new application, right? There we go. So aside from that, we're also gonna go into the main URLs and just change users to auth, right? So this is going to be users, and give me the next and the next, and I'm just gonna delete these and do auth. Beautiful. So auth / whatever is inside, that's going to be basically the root of our API. Cool. All right, so I can restart this server. It should actually automatically be restarted. We did this, so it's in the second. Oh no, actually we need to start the server. Yeah, we're manually starting this server. Python manage.py start server. We can't. Why? Installed applications. Okay. Let's see why it's complaining in the settings.py. Installed apps, we have it. We have auth here. So what was the actual issue? Oh, it duplicates auth. Like auth exists? Look at that. There's already an auth. There is already an auth module. So let's call it authentication. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Rename the folder authentication as well. We need to change a lot of stuff now. Change the folder, and then there's nothing here. There's admin, but nothing in there. There's the applications again. Authentication, right? No models, no tests because it's a new one. Authentication is the application name. and this doesn't matter here. Okay, so everything is authentication now. So if we go back to settings, there we go, we can save this. If we go back to URLs, we just need to change this and the namespace. But we're gonna keep the first, the path, okay? Because we want our URLs to start with auth, not authentication. And since it's just a string, it should not matter, but we'll see, you know. Start server. No, run server. You see, that was weird. I mean, we still see that start server is not really a command, but it still gave us the error. Nice, it's actually run server. But yeah, it still told us that auth is, yeah, it's already defined. So there we go, we have an API running, and if I just open Rapid API, it's basically a, we'll think about that later. It's basically an HTTP client, and instead of users, we're just gonna do auth this time. /auth/login on get should return the teapot. And it does, you see? You cannot get this, you should post it. So if I post it, it's going to return still, I think 200, it works. Is this still working? There we go. So yeah, we just refactored it briefly from users to just plain authentication. And now we're actually ready to, you know, to start implementing the login into the view that we have defined here. But you see how DRF allows us to create like a single class that extends from the, you know, API view that comes from the framework itself, and we can define this is what the get method will do, this is what the post method will do, etc, etc. So this is a plain API view. We can look into more like get by ID, etc. We'll see how that works. But yeah, so far so good. Nice. I guess we need to define a new route. These are only for single routes, like /auth/login, and that's it. There's no IDs. Cool. All right. Django already comes with authentication. And we need to learn what it does before we can, you know, implement stuff. Alright, so this document explains the usage of Django's authentication system in the default configuration. Is evolved to simple, most common project needs, handling, okay. User objects, we already have these, are the core of the authentication system. They typically represent the people interacting with your site and are used to enable things like restricting access, registering user profiles. Hey Patrick, welcome. Registering user profiles, associating content with creators, etc. Yeah. Only one class of user exists in Django's authentication framework. Super users or admin staff users are just user objects with special attributes set, not different classes or user objects. And we can confirm this by going to Beekeeper. Beekeeper is basically the database viewer, and we have Millionaire here. So I'm just gonna see if yeah, connection looks good. I'm just gonna connect to it, and these are all of these are basically the default tables that Django creates for us, right? So these are the users right here, and if we look at them, we'll see they have password, last login is super user. This is the super user, the millionaire one. It's set to true. First name, last name, email, is staff, is active. You see, I bet we can extend this, or we can create something else, like create a profile that points to this user. At least that's how, for example, in my experience, that's how I did things with Supabase. Supabase also comes with a user table, but I'm creating profiles, like user profiles, that have all of these extra data, not the email, but like first name, last name, and also has a foreign key that points to the actual user in the users table. So we can do something like that, or extend this one. We'll see what Django allows us to do. But basically, yeah, that's the user object or the user table. The primary attributes are these: username, password, email, first name, last name. So if we want to create users, we can just do user, and it's already there in auth.models. And auth is actually just that's the application that we created now, but we had to rename it because it already exists, right? So auth.models, that's where the user table or model is defined. So we can just do create user when registering, right? We have a post request that sends in an email and password and, you know, first name, last name, whatever we get from the client side. We can do validation on that. Like, is the password enough? Does it contain, I don't know, capital letters, symbols, whatever is, you know, according to our rules, our business rules. And if everything is okay, we can just say users, objects, create user, and that's basically registration, I think. Super users are created only by the create super user command, because we don't want, I guess, dynamic super users. I don't know. How we can change passwords is just use the set password object that comes from the user model, create, and there's authentication. There we go. So use authenticate to verify a set of credentials. So see, this already comes built in, but as like tools rather than ready-made endpoints. That's what I'm getting. And are we? Yeah, that's what I'm getting just by reading this much of the website, of the doc site. Right, we have the models, we have the create method to register or create users, we have the authenticate, etc, etc. These are the tools. We just need to use these tools into our own login endpoint, right? So use authenticate to verify a set of credentials. It takes credentials as a keyword argument, username and password, checks them against the authentication backend, and we read about this last time. Authentication backend means if you're using the built-in Django, or for example, you might be using some third-party authentication server. I don't know, like Clerk. I'm not sure if they have Python or there's an API, etc. But you know, you get the or like super tokens. Yeah, that's basically an authentication backend, and it returns the user object. We also read that when we're registering the user, we can also register the authentication backend. So the middleware, the authentication middleware that obtains the user from the request is going to also glue or like write in the authentication backend. So all of the authentication operations from that point on are for that user are going to be executed against that backend. So we don't really need, if this user is a built-in user, if this user is some company, you know, Okta, Auth0, Clerk, etc. No, we don't need to do that. So that's good. It's really good. If they're not valid, the backend's gonna raise permission denied. Cool. So we can just like, you know, try accept it. Request is an optional HTTP request. Yeah. Yeah, we can get the actual requests and put it as like the another named or keyword argument like these two. We can say request equals requests, so that, you know, it can extract that. There's the middleware that I'm talking about, probably. Yeah. There's permissions. Built-in permission system. It provides a way to assign permissions to specific users and groups of users as well. So that's pretty cool. Like, here's the database. We have user groups, and we don't have any groups now, but I think these can be used as like tiers, right? For example, we have free users, or we have, you know, AF morning. DRF is super cool. We figured it out. Thanks for joining. We're going to need you. Right, so User groups, I bet we can use them as like tiers, right? For example, you have an application and you can have like a free tier, but you can also have like individual, professional, enterprise. I guess those are user groups. It looks like that to me. Let's see if the user has like a group. No. Yeah, so user groups is a junction table that connects a specific user to a specific group, and this is the group basically, and the group has just name, that's it. And there are permissions, and these are all the permissions. Oh, look at that, this is the first time that I'm seeing this. These are all of the permissions. Can view, can delete, can change, and these are all generic. And we can even create our own permissions and assign them either to specific users or to groups of users, right? We have both, because we have group permissions and we also have user permissions. So that basically links specific users, like individual users, to individual permissions. So if I have permission with ID of 9, let's go and see what that permission is. Can add group. There we go. I can create groups. And as a plain user, like an actual user, not an admin, I should not have this. And it looks to me that Django NDRF has a lot of built-in features, but it also makes learning curve a bit steeper. True, yeah. But so far, even though we got confused, like really confused last time, I'm actually liking what I'm seeing. You know, there's some like cool stuff that we can already use. But yeah, in short, that's how the permissions setup is made in Django. That's how we can use, there we go. So we have the user, the groups, we can add the user to a group or remove it from a group. Clear, I don't know, like delete all of the groups. And the user can also be part of multiple groups as well. That's cool. There we go, we have a lot of permissions and stuff. Yeah, cool. And if there are, probably, and AF can confirm this, but if there are tables here, that means that we can, you know, there are models for this. So if, let's go back. If we can register or get a user by using the user model, there should be, or I expect there to be, groups, permissions, and user groups, and user permissions, etc. Most likely. So yeah, we already have the tools. We just need to use these tools and develop our own, you know, API endpoints. There's a groups, generic way to categorize users, so you can apply permissions or some other label to those users. A user can belong to any number of groups. There we go. Like site editors. Oh yeah, as well, like internal groups as well. You might have admins, you might have editors, you might have like outside contributors, you might have, you know, stuff like that, special users. Yeah, there it is. There, so this is basically, it looks to me like a CMS scenario. We have a content type, and we need to learn about content types. This is like built in. So there's a content type, and this is how we can create a permission, can publish blog posts, and we assign a content type to it. Interesting. Yeah, that's basically how we can create new permissions. And then we, using this, can publish, and using this permission, we can add that to specific users, right? If we have a blog and we want to invite external writers or external contributors, we're just gonna give them this permission, basically. There's permission caching. And we can, yeah, We can look into this. Proxy models work exactly like the same way as concrete models. Permissions are created using the own content type of the proxy model. Proxy models don't inherit the permissions of the concrete model they subclass. AF says admin panel and ability to manage users and objects from the get makes going to production very fast. I bet, yeah. We still haven't explored the admin panel because we don't have any models right now, but we saw users and groups. Let me actually show that again. If we go to localhost on 8000, there we go. 8000/admin. We're already logged in, but these are the two tables that we have now: models, authentication and authorization. We have groups and users. There we go. We don't have any groups now, but yeah, when we build resume, when we build job listing and all of these other like profiles, applications, maybe if we track who applied to which position, if we want to learn, make the improve our ML model, like yeah, that actually can be a cool, yeah. These are like, those are gonna show up here. Patrick says there should be a blog post called creating a Django custom model from test driven. It should show how you can make a custom user model. Shall I search for it? Creating a Django custom model from test driven. I bet test driven is gonna be like a blog. Oh yeah, custom user model. Yeah, we're definitely gonna use this because like we are gonna have users, and our users are going to be, might have like more stuff to them, like have a picture. There's gonna be like, yeah, if we're building because we're gonna be extracting stuff from PDF resumes, there's gonna be like companies or positions and descriptions for those positions. There's gonna be a lot. Aaron, welcome. All right, we're digging into Django. Patrick, thanks for this. We're definitely gonna check it out. I'm gonna add it to the eraser document we started working on. You can also have a profile model that's linked to a user. That's what I was thinking about, actually. ZSA. Interesting resources. I'm gonna put it here. There's ZSA. Put it here. There we go. The Django. I usually customize the user model so I can have email, password, login. I like having that in a single model. It's because it's just there. And I'm actually share this as well. By default is username and password, and it's not email. But we saw email. Or maybe it's... Yeah, maybe that's the case. There was email, but there's also a username. Interesting. So for authentication, actually uses the username most likely. I guess that's what you're saying. Okay. Okay, so basically that's authentication, right? This is... Let's work on the registration first. Because we want to create a user, and then we... Actually, hold on a second. We already have a user. Yeah. We already have a user. We need to log a user. We already have this one. And the password is password. Okay, so yeah, let's actually try that. We'll go to Kitty. We're gonna go to Kitty. This is the get. We're just gonna do the post here. So let's do Let's do the username first. Okay. Request dot. Oh, come on. Let's restart the LSP. Oh, of course, it doesn't give me any. Yeah. Okay, so I need the types from REST framework dot what? Request, yeah. Request import HTTP request. There we go. So that's gonna be the type. So now dot, there we go. We have more stuff. Body, yeah, there is a body. Request, oh, dot. But hold on now. Our request is different. Our request comes from DRF. So let's go to the API guide. There we go. Dot data returns the parse content of the request body. Yeah, to the standard request post. So we need data, not body dot data, and we should probably access it like this. Username. Data is unknown. Yeah, there is no type on this, but we have to have types. It's not non-negotiable. So let's see. We're gonna get into here. I want to see where the requests are coming from. Like, what is the type? There is no type. No, wait, there is. Says nothing about the type. Oh, there we go. It's not the HTTP requests. It's just the requests. There we go. Okay, so what is this? No type arguments for class empty. No type, yeah. So what is data? The data is a dictionary. Unknown, unknown. Ah, this is not good. I'm spoiled. Edward, good morning. I am spoiled with types, but yeah, let's just move on. I'm just gonna copy username into password, and so we have the data. What we need to do, don't need this anymore. Try to authenticate it, right? We pass in the request, and then we have the username and password, and then we'll have the user. Wait, it says login here. Okay, so there's login and there's authenticate. If you have an authenticated user you want to attach to the current session, this is done with a login function. Authenticated user, authenticating users, and logging in users. Authenticate is just check and returns the user. Ah, okay, so right, so check if the user exists, like if the user is registered, right? There we go. If it is, log it in, which means attach, like create a session and attach it to the requests so that it can be like set as a cookie in the browser and then redirect to like a success page. Cool. We're not gonna redirect, we're just gonna return results. Cool. All right, so first is authenticate and then is the user equals I forgot it. Authenticate directly from contrib auth. Okay. So we'll do from Django contrib auth import authenticate. And also login comes from that package as well. So authenticate. And then we want to pass in the request first. And these are named. Username is username. And password is password. Yeah. Vim. So if user is not user, is not none. Okay. If the user exists, we want to log that user in, and we're logging the user. How? Request and user. Cool. Nice. And then we want to return probably actually this. We want to return this, right? And I know DRF always returns JSON because look at this. The content type is application JSON, so we need to return an object. So let's delete around the quotes and put in an object. This is it is going to allow that. All right, so success, we'll set that to true, and I don't know, message logged in, probably, I don't know. Ooh, look at that now. No, there are no anonymous objects in Python. I've had a lot of success in simple setup with simple JWT module for DRF. Comes out of the box tools for logging and token refreshing. Yeah, and I also think that simple JWT allows you to do like OAuth as well, right? Like social login. I've read something like that. Okay, let's see. Responses. Oh, I need quotes. All right, so quotes goes around add inward quotes. I love that. Referencing variables. Yeah, it's gonna take some time. So there we go. We extract data from the body. We try to authenticate the user. If the user is not authenticated, if the user exists and the password and username match, then we're just going to log the user in, basically attach it to the requests, and then return it back. Now, when we do that, do we need to return something around the session, like return a header, etc.? We'll see. But maybe the login does that, actually. There's a request, maybe the login does that, we'll see. Otherwise, we want to return something, something bad. Say no, return invalid login error message. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna return invalid credentials then. And status is going to be bad request, probably. bad request. What you're sending me does not work. Okay. Let's give this a go then. So we need to send in question. We assume that this is going to be JSON, probably, because request is JSON, so response is JSON. It's probably this is going to be JSON, or maybe it automatically parses. I'm talking about DRF. Maybe it automatically parses the data. Oh yeah, there's also files. So that means if we send JSON versus if we send form data, it should parse both of them, right? Okay. Username, millionaire, password. Let's see. There we go. Logged in, and there's a set cookie header. See, so we don't need to explicitly do this. Let me see if I can zoom this in for you. There we go. This is it. So when the browser receives the set cookie, there's a session ID. It'll just set it, right? So every request from this point on is going to contain the session ID cookie, and the user is going to be authenticated. That is how it works. Cool. So this was form URL encoded, right? Form data. But if we try JSON, okay, if we try JSON, then that means CSRF failed. Cookie not set. Okay, interesting. What are the headers that we're sending? Application JSON. Yeah. All right. Has to be form URL and oh, what is this now? Now we're doing this again. Okay. Why? What happened? The first time it worked, the second time it didn't work. It says forbidden. It was okay for the first time, but then it won't let us. Are there like any cookies? No cookies. And don't store them. There we go. There we go. So the client actually sent the cookie. So I'm not sending or storing cookies anymore. I'm gonna go back to the body and change this to JSON. So when we send the next request, it's not gonna be with the session ID. There we go, you see? It works. So both JSON and form data works just fine. But if we try to log in again, there we go. CSRF cookie not set. I don't know why it does that. So be it. I don't know. Okay, cool. This is basically our login. Our login is done. I mean, yeah, technically it works, right? There's no architecture, there's nothing, but it works. So how do we approach this? Do we want to like, because this is the this is the logic, right? Should we do like controllers and like a clean architecture type of thing, where we have use cases and controllers and stuff like that? Hey, Kostadin, welcome. Should we do that? Let me know. Who do I see? I know Aaron is going to be definitely for either for clean or DDD. Yeah, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. All right, so views, we have this. There's probably not gonna be any models in the authentication, so might as well just, you know, remove the models, because I think in settings.py I think we have some models here, if I'm correct. Oh yeah, you see there's some passwords validators as well. Actually, there are no models. Okay then, might be the apps. No. Yeah, if there are no models, and I guess we can just like delete this file. But yeah, so here's the authentication. What we want to do, yeah, we're gonna approach this slow, but we're gonna be building it. Here's the authentication application. Inside, we want to split things up into boundaries, right? We want to create boundaries where our logic will be, where our frameworks usage will be, etc. So let me show you the project that I worked on that somehow basically implements like DDD. So these are the 3 applications in here. Shared is everything that's like built into Django, which is this application right here, the Millionaire API, which is, it's not an application, this is just the, you know, the Django configuration for this project. We have the settings.py, ASGI, WSGI, URLs, etc, etc. So everything is in shared of that, plus some extra stuff. Every directory, category, flashcard, these are domains. Every category or every directory has like domain, infra, presentation, application. See, that's basically how I've split things. In the domain, we have the entities, and we're working with entities inside, and we're converting entities into models whenever we need to, you know, interact with the database. Infra is everything that is pulling in and using a framework. Presentation REST is going to be pretty much the same, it's just going to be for the RESTs. And let me show you, for example, the flashcards, right? This is a flashcards application. There are categories. Each category has a number of flashcards. That's how it works. In the presentation RESTs, I have the API.py, and I'm using Ninja here as the router, but this time we're going to be using DRF. So in here, I define all of the routes like this. You see? We have the get all flashcards, get a flashcard based on the flashcard ID, etc. CRUD stuff, right? Create, update, delete. But what this does is it interacts with a query or a command. So CQRS, right? There are commands and there are queries. Queries read data and return data. Commands, they write data, they mutate data into the database. Both of them interact. Let me try to draw this. Okay, so we have the API route. The API route interacts either with a query or a command. Either one. So I'm going to connect these like this. There we go. And then these two interact with a repository. They invoke stuff from the repository. Repository is just a class. And the repository is the one that actually writes stuff to the database. In short, this is what's happening in that project, right? And the idea with this is that it's set up in such a way that in If you have scaling issues when it comes to reading and writing into the database, you could split these into like queries can point to a different repository for reading only, which is going to be a different database, right? If you have that type of setup, so it can be basically this. And then these two can somehow synchronize the data between them. So this can be like read-only database, and this is going to be for writing, right? If you have like a lot of users, there's definitely going to be like a bottleneck at this point here. So some projects do this type of, you know, scaling where they have like separate databases for reading, and these can be even like be different databases. Like this can be, I don't know, this can be like Redis, and this can be Postgres, right? Whenever we write into the Postgres, the Postgres will update Redis, or like invoke a different one that update Redis, and Redis is faster, much faster for reads, so that when we're reading from that, maybe not Redis, you know, you get the gist. But the idea is that that's how I set things up. And that's why it is used as such. And I'm gonna delete this. So that's CQRS. Just place this here. I love this tool. OCD is satisfied. There we go. So this is basically what I have, you know, in my project. And why I have it this way is that I can isolate these two logics. I feel like I'm missing something here, but that's just my clean architecture mindset, you know, some orchestrator, because sometimes in one operation we might need like to invoke a few queries and then one command at the end. That order of execution is gonna have to be here, right? This is gonna be the orchestrator. I feel like I need like a controller here, but yeah, these two are isolated from any frameworks, right? Queries and commands, and basically I can unit test them. That's the idea. If I switch a repository, the repository just needs to give me the interface, not the actual implementation. So the query says, give me that repository and invoke its get something method. It doesn't care if it's like a Postgres or a Mongo or Redis. It just invokes the get something method. If we ever need to do that thing I showed again, you know, I showed previously, like this one, where we have a different implementation for faster reads, the repository, we just need to make sure that it implements the get something method, but nothing changes here, right? So refactoring those, you know, refactoring in those scenarios, it's basically free, right? That's the gist of it. That's how I have it set up. I guess we can have something similar in here. And basically in the database, database is just a database. Repository, the repository will use the Django models, you know, user.objects.create user, that's gonna be here. We're not gonna be doing those things here. So yeah, it helps us isolate like core logic so we can unit test it later. And it also helps us like do some refactoring later, changing stuff, or like dynamically changing stuff. Yeah, that's how I have this set up in this project right here. So here's the API. The API invokes the flashcards command, which is defined here in the container, and this is like a static dependency injection type of thing. We just create the command and we pass the repository. In here, see, we create it like this, but we can also do this dynamically. We can pass in a different repository for this command, but let's just go and check it out. Here's the command. It's a class. It holds a reference to the repository, which is a class that, oh yeah, this is the mapper find all. Yeah, basically it is a class. There's no interfaces in Python as far as I know, but there is a way to like achieve the functionality of an interface. We're gonna look into that because we need to learn Python that way as well. So that's the command. The command just has commands: create flashcard, update flashcard, delete flashcard, and those commands interact with the repositories. See? And the command has no idea what the repository is going to, where the repository is going to write these flashcards. Is that going to be in memory? Is that going to be on disk? Is that going to be on a different server? Or is that going to be like a third-party service for a database? Like, I don't know, Terso. Doesn't care. Here's a flashcard. Save it, because I'm going to ask, not me, but the query is going to ask for that flashcard later, so you know how to retrieve it. Cinematic, what type of logic is written in a repository in clean architecture? Just interacting with the driver, right? With the actual database. Let's get into this repository and I'll show you, for example. There's like a base repository thingy, but yeah, find all, find by ID. We create our functions here, like our methods, the ones that we need. And we just do model.objects.get. This is how we interact with a database in Django, using the Django ORM, the built-in one, or we can just use a different driver here. But that's basically what we do. Or we can, yeah, as Aaron says, we can even type in actual raw SQL and invoke that against the database. Yeah, this is that point here. And for example, for unit testing, it's better because you can register a different repository that doesn't use a database. It uses like an in-memory mocked version of this. So instead of flashcard model.objects, it's not gonna do this. It's basically going to like oh, there's a popular pip package for abstract base classes. Effectively, the same thing as interfaces. Yeah, that's the thing. So like we're definitely gonna look into that, but we're gonna need that. Being a beginner should have practiced clean architecture. It's just knowing why things are, the way that they are, so that you can pay attention to, what you're doing. We might not necessarily do clean architecture by the book because, we have something here, we have a repository, this is a repository pattern, this is a command query pattern. Maybe it's not CQRS, but it's like what? CQR? Was it? Yeah, this one's from Martin Fowler. Command query responsibility say, oh, it's actually CQS. Command query separation is a principle of imperative computer programming devised by Bertrand Meyer. Let me actually see. Give me some stuff. Okay, there we go. This is basically what I drew there, right? There's the UI on the right. It interfaces with the service. The service, well, yeah, there's a service now, which is the controller that I was talking about, right? Something in the middle. And that thing orchestrates this. But it's not really like this. We didn't even actually do it like that. There we go. The arrows were a bit weird. So the client or the presentation can invoke commands and queries. Commands, they have a write model. They write to the database, and when they write to the database, they basically do like events to read it. Yeah, something like this. But yeah, basically this is a lane for reading. This is a lane for writing, if you need to separate those two. But yeah, there are both CQS and CQRS. So there it is again, with the different databases that I mentioned, like scaling and stuff. So yeah, that's CQRS. That's not necessarily clean architecture. So there are no use cases. I mean, there are use cases. Hold on. Use cases are what I have in the middle. Actually, commands and queries are use cases in my project. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's not. I don't know. I feel like I need one more layer here. But yeah, we're not doing by the book. We're not doing by the book clean architecture, but we are mindful to like boundaries and where we place certain code so that, you know, we can refactor easier later on, we can add more stuff easier later on. So we don't spend time on decisions like where do I put this code, and we can test and we can mock and we can, you know, extend, etc, etc. Yeah, basically that's it. The problem happens when people try to do things by the book and introduce too many layers. If your mapping is simple, just do it in the repository instead of a separate class. Yeah. I feel like because I was following a different project for this application here, I didn't like this part right here. Let me show you with the mapper. Yeah, I had some issues. It's very easy to end up with an anemic domain models that don't have any behavior themselves. The biggest mistake in DDD systems. Yeah, I think this one is like that. This one is built like that. Actually, yeah, I got some. I have update answer, update question. There used to be like a validation somewhere in here as well. Maybe it was the category. I think it was the category. Nope, it's not here. But yeah, those are the entities. And when we write and read entities, when we need to write entities to the database, we need to convert them to actual models. And here's a model. Here's a category model, and we also have an entity. I still haven't gotten used to that thing, but maybe this is going to be the project where I will, right? We have models, we have entities. Models are just how things are saved into the database. Entities are what is being used across the whole application. Because if we use models, that means we are bound to the Django.db package. And if we want to change either the database or change the ORM, the driver, we're gonna have to refactor the whole application. Whereas if we use entities, we only need to refactor the mapper, right? How we map entities to models. So yeah, let's get into this then. There's nothing in the authentication when it comes to models, so I'm probably just gonna delete models. Admin, I still don't know what goes in when it comes to Django, but I bet there's gonna be some stuff that, you know, our application authentication adds to the admin panel. I'm not gonna do that either. I don't know what we need to do, but let's actually, where's that middleman code? That's just delegating to the mapper. That's pointless. You mean this? The category mapper? There's an interface, but it's built as a class. Let's see. This is what you're referring to, right? Oh, okay. I know. You are referring to this one. You're referring to this one. The repository is just delegating to the model mapper. Well, yeah, it invokes the SQL here. Not yet. I haven't looked into aggregates yet, but I need to. I still haven't finished reading the... Was it the name? The Big Blue Book? Still haven't finished reading that one. But yeah, let's build something like this then. Let's try to build something like this. I don't know. This feels fine. We have queries, we have commands. Those two interact with the repository, and we're not gonna have two databases. We're just gonna have one. We're just gonna like divide the two with queries and commands, and we're gonna keep these as functions. We're not gonna do any dependency injection on them. I don't feel like, yeah, there's nothing to mock. This is just pure logic. They can stay as functions. Repositories are gonna be classes. APIs are APIs. And we need something in the middle here, because if we don't add something, we're gonna have something like this. Yeah, like this endpoint right here. Get the flashcards for that category. First, get me the category. There's a query. If it's not found, then do this. Then make sure that the category contains the ID, because this is an entity, it's not a model. And then give me all the flashcards. And now if an error happens here, right, this is like still logic to me. This is still like, you know, based on the order. So that's why I feel like we need something. I guess we can, I don't know. It's easy to just like add one layer later on. Because if we do this at the very beginning, add a layer here, it's gonna like make things more complicated. Yeah. I'm just basically going to copy the flashcards application. Okay, so we have authentication here. There's not gonna be queries in this application. There's gonna be like only commands. There are no queries, or maybe they are, like check authentication if I'm authenticated. And the idea is that we want to isolate, yeah, basically this. Yeah, let's try that. Plus we'll have some, if we do this, we'll have some opportunity to write some tests as well, which is, yeah, important. We need to, I want to learn how to write tests as well. Okay, format. I bet I can delete this. There we go. And the request is not used here, but because there's no get, I'm just gonna delete that. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna create a folder here that's going to be presentation. What? Present. Okay, this is. I need to configure my keyboard, so I need to type in this slowly. Presentation slash home robots. Right, Aaron? Rest, and then we'll have. Then we're going to move the URLs in there. Have we decided which framework? I don't know if PyTest is still the default one. I'm not sure. I don't even know the ecosystem, but we'll look at that later on. Home robots, yeah. I don't know why is that present. Yeah, you see? I don't know why it does that. PyTest is the best. All right, so we have the presentation here. What we need to do is go back to the main URLs, and instead of doing this, presentation dot rest dot URLs, because we moved it. Okay, that's how we register this, so everything should remain the same. Let's see, there are some issues. Yep. Save this. Issues here. Now views is not registered. That means we need to do authentication. Import views. But we're gonna move them. Hold on a second. These are the URLs. These are the URLs. These are not the views. The views are gonna... I'm just gonna rename this to API. Hold on a second. This is only the login, so... yeah, I messed up. I need to get the URLs out. Or like keep them here. Let's keep them here. We're also gonna move the... we're also gonna move the views here. There we go. Why do we need to make a folder of REST? Is it not confusing as we are only making APIs? Yeah, I know, good point. You can delete it, but it's just like, in case you don't know that we're only making APIs, when you see the presentation folder, you're only gonna see REST, and then you definitely know that we're only making, you know, RESTful APIs and not views and stuff like that. So I'm gonna rename this. I'm not gonna rename this right now, but I'm going to actually rename this to login. Okay, so we have URLs, and I just want to import login. Organize, and then I'll do this. Okay, there we go. So we have login, and we're gonna have register as well, and that's gonna be like a different it's gonna be like a different handler here. Login is one handler, and everything can stay in presentation because we have REST framework here, we have REST framework here. We're not gonna test any of this. Okay, cool. In here we have apps, and this should be basically like infra stuff. So let's create infra Django, cut apps, place it there. So that means I need to go to the settings.py and change something there. Suppose if we are importing the views from some other app of Django, will you use absolute path for import? If yes, then why maintain the consistency of local ones also? I think you're not supposed to import views from other applications inside. Like authentication works with its own stuff inside. There can be shared, right? But yeah, you shouldn't be crossing boundaries. There's a solution to that as well. Yeah. Let me see what I did here in the other project. Okay, I had infra, Django, apps, and admin here. But let me see what I did in the shared. Hold on, let me see. Manage. Yeah, go shared. Infra, Django. Settings. Yeah, there we go. I need to point to the actual config, right? So instead of just saying authentication, I need to do authentication.infra.django, right? Apps for the actual name, and then authentication config, right? Like this. so that we point to this configuration file. Okay, let's see if this works. No module named login, and that's in the REST URLs. Okay, let's go and see. From .login actually, because it treats it as a package. If you don't do dot, if you do dot, that means you're looking here in this folder. Now we're good. So if I trigger the login, we should see, yeah, CRS failed again. That's fine. Let me just toggle these two, and there we go. Logged in. Okay, nice. So we have some, you know, added some layers here. We have infra. We have migrations, which, and they should be in infra as well. So I'm gonna do the database inside and then add the migrations in there. And there was a different option for the migrations as well. Yeah, there we go, migration modules. But I don't think we're gonna have a migration here in the authentication. We might have, we'll just see. If we need them, we should just do this in case. By default, it's not there, but we can add these. Migration modules. Nope. Nope. There we go. This is going to be authentication, infra, database, migrations. Infra, database, migrations, the app name. Cool. Okay, so now, because we moved the migrations in a different folder, we had to do this as well. So you see how we can set up our folders as we want and still have the same functionality. We just need to like override some of these settings. Like we did the migration modules and also the installed applications as well. We needed to actually go and point to the config. But that's basically it. In the URLs, we have another custom path that we need to define. But yeah, cool. All right. Tests. I don't have any tests in this application, but we need to put them somewhere. They can't be just at the root there. Aaron, do you have any suggestions? They're not technically in infra. They're not presentation. They're not gonna be domain. I'm gonna explain it again, Harsh. Yeah. Where do we keep the tests? On what is like the unit tests for the authentication. So we'll just keep them in there. We're not gonna have a separate folder, right? Authentication tests, unit tests are gonna be in the authentication. Should we just like create tests and just drop them in the tests directory? I feel like that's simplest. And have all of them, you know, in there. I don't know. Yeah, right now they are, right? Right now they are in the authentication test.py. I guess we'll just keep it as test. Okay. And now Harsh asks, sorry if it's repeated, but can you explain the folder structure in the authentication app? Just basically dividing the code into multiple layers, right? I think that's called boundaries. No, not really. In DDD, they're not called boundaries. No. Test beside the implementation files. Yeah, that might be better actually. We'll see if that's like achievable in Python. But yeah, we have infra and we have presentation. This is not really clean. architecture. It's just creating, you know, creating layers, creating separate layers. We don't have logic right now, but for example in infra, that's not logic, but some like configuration stuff. We have database inside, we'll have the migrations. We're also gonna have like the repositories there. Then we have Django apps. Maybe there's some configuration for the admin panel. There's gonna be admin.py, anything that has to do with Django there. So that when we want to do logic, we're just gonna have application folder, and let's do commands and also queries. Right, so these two are going to hold Python files that are going to be commands and queries for you know, mutating and reading data. Commands or queries for mutating or reading, but they're not actually doing that. They're actually using the repositories that are we going to define. But yeah, so presentation uses application that uses repositories. That's the layering, and we do that to like keep things isolated so we can test them, so that we can, you know, it's better. You'll see. All right, so we already have a logging view, and this is some logic, right? So this remains here the way that we obtain data, because it is using the request from the REST framework. In order to keep things isolated, we are going to keep a data extraction here, but we're going to move the authentication and the login into a command. So let's try that. We go commands, and we'll just do login.py. And that's going to be let's just like define a function instead of a class. Login command, and it is going to take in it needs the requests. It needs the requests, username and passwords at minimum, right? That's it. We're just not gonna return a response. We're just gonna return something, or throw, define our own custom errors. And because Python doesn't do types, we're not gonna do types then, you know. Or maybe here. Is this correct? No, probably capital. How's a string in Python? Oh, str. There we go. Password. Okay, cool. So now in here, we're basically going to do this. In a way. Not the exact thing, but something like this. Shift is on index now. There we go. So from Django, contrib auth import authenticate and login. And now we're not gonna return a response with status codes and stuff. We're just gonna return something. I'm lazy. Are there Python generics yet? I don't like the typing situation that Python has right now. But as I said, I'm spoiled with types. Okay, so we are going to log in, and this persists the user ID and a backend in the request itself. This way a user doesn't have to re-authenticate on every request Note that data set during the anonymous session is retained when the user logs in. We talked about this. And we can also pass in a backend if we needed to, if we want to, or we'll see. Okay, so in this case, everything is, you know, we're still doing synchronous Python. Not async, but like synchronous. So we can just return something. User. The main issue here are the libraries that are not well typed, because they predate types by a long time and do things that can't be typed easily. Yeah. Python's type system needs some additional features for more complex cases. Yeah, I wonder what like Python's type system was like lagging behind all these other languages. Maybe it was never like, why didn't they put focus on it? That's weird. But okay. What do we want to do here? In this case, we already have the tools, right? We have login, we have authenticate. That means there's not going to be a repository, or maybe for like registering. Because we are creating a user. If we are creating a user, we are going to be doing this. But for login, we have authenticate and login. There is no, we already have the tools. And they come from here. So if we really want to, you know, isolate dependencies, we need to isolate these as well. Yeah, let's make this mistake now, and if we want to regret later, we can just, you know, do it. But return none. Yeah, I feel like we should keep it simple, because this comes, you know, authentication comes from Django contrib. If we change it later down the road, we need to put this in a service so that the command, and then the command will do basically nothing. That's it. Just a useless layer in between. So I'm just gonna keep it like this. I'm gonna keep it like this. And now in this case, here's what we're gonna do. Return the user, else return none. So instead of authenticate, I'm going to do login command and just invoke it. Let me see if I can do positional arguments like this without specifying their okay. I feel like this works. I feel like this should work. Let's test it out. Okay, yep. Cool. So there we have it. There's our login command. So we have the handler here. We have the command here. Now let's actually go into the and define the register. So once we have that, we have login and register, even logout. We're also gonna need logout. These three basically are enough to like wrap up a really simple authentication system. So I'm gonna close this one. I'm actually gonna push. Folder structure, and I'll say plus login handler. Kevin, how's it going? Okay. Register.py. We are going to need the status, response. Yeah, there it is. When I type SE, S is for option. When I type it fast, I get that hiccup. Kevin, still stuck in some of the Electron.js things. What are you experiencing? Muhammad, yeah, you're right. You can just do this. Okay. This is the API view. And now application commands register import register command. It doesn't exist, but we'll define it. Okay, post again. And that's it, right? For registration, we have probably just username and password again. Okay. We're gonna keep it simple. We're going to just steal username and password. We don't need any like extra stuff. At least for now. Until we see, you know, how we can like do this. Ooh, maybe if we're doing like if we're doing OAuth, like a social login, we could even do like login with LinkedIn, so that we can like pull the LinkedIn profile and like automatically populate and create the full profile. That would be cool. That would be cool. All right, so register.py. This is going to be the register command. Let me actually set up a layout here. Again, that's it. Proper thought leader, yeah. Automatic, instant thought leadership. All right, so this should exist now. There we go. This exists. I need to get probably the user. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna return this pretty much the same thing. I got a response. 201 or 200? Like you're registering, you're creating an account. Should it be like 201? Let's make it as 201. 201. There we go. Where's the remaining? Oh, I have a different file. No, Aaron, we're just gonna use like React, like a standalone React application using React router v7, so it might be Remix, you know, style, not be like server-side render. We'll see. This is just like we're just building a REST API. Yeah, framework mode in Vite. Imperium, hello. Ten-stack router or 10-stack start? I bet it's fun. I haven't tried it. Does Python handle request cancellation? I believe JS does not. Request cancellation like HTTP request cancellation, or just like any process cancellation with like cancellation tokens? Thank you, Imperial. Appreciate it. All right, register command. We got it here. Let's do some reading now, because we don't know how we can register. Let's go and see how to log in, how to log a user out. I guess we just do user objects. Most likely. And then log them in, and then... yeah. Okay, cool. This is when we actually... this is where we actually get in and create a repository now. Okay, we have the username and passwords. There's definitely gonna be some checks here, but it is definitely time for a repository. Repository, and now we need... how did I do that? Infra database repository, just RDB. There was a base one. I didn't like that this was like way too with the mapper and stuff. We'll keep this in mind. We'll keep this in mind. Yeah. Plain class right now. will start slow. This is gonna be the users actually. Yeah. It's gonna be the users repository. Do we need anything on the init? Not really. There's a model mapper that maps the entities with actual models. But let's get to that point. So what we need is a create a user basically, right? Where we have the username. It's going to be a string and a password. It's going to be a string as well, but we're gonna need to hash that. I bet that Django has changing passwords. Oh, okay, there we go. Taking care of the password hashing. So we just pass in the raw passwords. That's it. It doesn't save the user. When the raw password is none, the password will be set to an unusable password. Okay. Right, so we basically need to just create a new user, instantiate a new user, set the username. Yeah, just set the username. Do a set password. Let's try that. Aaron asks, what are you using for reporting errors? Have you heard of this small tool called Sentry? It seems okay, I'm not sure though. Yeah, I've heard of Sentry. I hear about Sentry every day because I work there. But yeah, we are gonna use Sentry. Definitely. I mean, look, I am streaming in working hours. I should even say this stream is sponsored by Sentry. Because they are paying me to do this, right? They do hire only the best. True. Alright, let's check this out. This is gonna be fun. From Django, contrib auth models import user. That's the user model. What's wrong now? Expected indent and block. Username must be a super type of its class user. Oh, self. Cool, there we go. So, we have the username, we have the password. We need to create a new user first. Let's see. See, Brian, how's it going? Choco Babies, Norway. I was watching Salma's stream earlier. I didn't know you also worked there. Yeah, it's like me, Salma, and Sarah. 3 people in the DevRel team. Pretty cool. Alright, let's get into the user and see all of the inits that we can use. Can we say username equals username like this? Nope. just set passwords. We are gonna be doing this, but maybe username should be here. I don't know. User objects required. Yeah, so if this is required, and this is also required, a hash of and metadata about the password. Django doesn't store the raw password. Raw passwords can be arbitrarily long and can contain any character. This metadata in this field may mark the password as unusable. See password documentation. We will, but if we need to hash it, then how? All right, let me dig more into the, and I'm actually going to make this window a bit bigger. Let's go to the abstract user. There has to be an init where we can see how we can initialize. There's a first name. Well, yeah, I guess just username, and that's it. We'll see if this works. Yeah, let's just see. Oh, let's bring up the robot. Mr. Robot. How do we create users in the Django? Later. Not Django shell. User objects create user. Oh, right. Not like this. Yeah, user objects. And there should be, there we go, create user. There's a username and also, well, let me see. Let me see what the robot says. The password is raw. Yeah, and we just passed that. Okay, cool. Nice. Username and password, that's it. And we just return it. There's no ifs and stuff. We just create user and then we return the user. So repository should work like this. We also need to, we should also, let me see. We should also try to authenticate, right? We should try to use the, oh, but that one comes with a password as well. Because if I remember correctly, when we use the authenticate, where is it? Not creating users. There we go. Use authenticate to verify a set of credentials. It takes credentials as a keyboard argument. Username and password. Well, it has to be password then. Yeah. Okay, so the idea is that we, before registering, we should check if the user exists with that username. So we need some sort of validation, right? And then I think that needs to be in the command instead of the repository, because the repository should not be, that's part of the logic, right? Part of the creation, the user creation logic. So let's create a, I don't know, get user. User equals user objects Let's see, get, I guess just get username equals username, right? And then return user. So, damn it, there we go again. Return user. So if this is none, cool. We are moving on. If it exists, then we should like return an error or throw an error. And we should look into errors as well. Let's start doing that. This is our application infra presentation. I'm going to create a new folder called domain. And inside of the domain, we are going to create, I don't know, errors. Yeah. And let's just do auth.py. I'm gonna open this here in the bottom. And let's go, let's ask the doc site. Evie, welcome. Errors, custom errors. It's not Django actually. Python custom errors. It's probably exception, yeah. But let's also ask the robot. How do we create custom errors in Python? All right, let's see. Yeah, that's it, right? A custom error. You can erase it and then accept it. We can also add some custom attributes if we want to. Yeah, if we want to like pass some data as well. Nice. Let's do just that. So class, this is going to be, they should be not generic, they should be strict. They should be like user exists, right? And then we'll pass in exception, error, exception or error, exception inside. And we can keep it as this. We don't need more stuff, right? We can just say pass inside and that's it. Right. So in here we can say user equals, and now we need, oh yeah, there we go. So if we have repositories that are going to be used in queries and commands, then the commands will, queries and commands, they will need to be classes instead of functions, because when we create the commands we're gonna need to pass the, also create like instantiate the repositories as well. And that's what I have in my project as well. There's a repository. If we go back into category, application, use case, and let's say command, and there it is. It's a class, and it is instantiated here in it. And the command itself goes all the way back into the presentation REST container. So this is where we create everything, and we pass. This is where we like, yeah. And AviWeb actually joins in the right moment. This is the dependency injection where this happens. So we use the queries and commands from the containers. That's how I have it set up, because I was looking at that other project that other project had it set up like that. But yeah, super simple. In that case, class is going to be register command. It's gonna be empty right now. Thank you, Muhammad. Where is that? Aaron, the symbol in your DI file, the bear key. I don't see that. I don't see anything like that. Here's the project, by the way. Actually, let me actually paste this. Category repo. What symbol? Oh yeah, it's the type annotation bit. I don't need it, right? It's going to infer it by itself. Yeah, it's type. Okay, so this is the container. We have the register command, not yet, but there's going to be a dunder in it. We're gonna take in, come on now, we're gonna take the self. Damn it. SC. When I do SC or SA, whatever I do on S on my keyboard, it does that. It doesn't trigger SA, but it does the tap and hold. So I need to configure the tap and hold. Oh yeah, it's Python not having a var or consts. Yeah. All right, so now we have the register command, and we also need to pass in the constructor. We need to pass in the repository. So users repository, right? And we'll just do users repository. And that's gonna be a type. Not here, but here. From application infra database repository dot rdb import. Yeah, okay. Command space. Are we there? rdb import users. I can't see. Application authentication. There we go. Cool. So self dot users repository equals users repository. There's no inversion of control, as you can see. It's just, you know, it's just that. This could be an interface, but it's not. But it is what it is. So commands, they should have like a execute, invoke, execute. Oh, they have functions. Okay. Let me do a quick 5-minute break to get some water and stuff. And we'll be back. Not 5, let's do like 3 minutes then. Yeah. Can you tell me expected date when you will work on the AI portion? No clue, Muhammad. No clue. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until we need to do an in-memory before we use an interface. Yeah, definitely. For now, we'll just keep things hooked up like this. but this will leave the, you know, this will leave room for us to split in the future. All right, so quick 3 minute break, bio break, get some water, and then we'll continue in 3 minutes. All right. All right, let's proceed. There we go. So we have the command here, and check this out. Looking at the commands here, the ones that I have, they're classes. They have the repository here, but the actual like commands are under one roof. We have a category command, which in our case would be an authentication command, and the authentication command is gonna have like a login, register, etc. Should we do that? Should we like have, instead of having multiple commands, we have one command definition, one command class, and have the, you know, basically use it just to inject the user's repository, but the methods of the command will be the actual commands itself. What is also common used is for one command, you have one command handler, but it is when you have a command bus. What is that? It's like a... Is that like for... Let me Google that. That sounds pretty cool. command bus. Yeah. That has access or has knowledge of all of the commands. Yeah, like send the request to the bus and the bus will know where to like route it. Command executors, there we go. Yeah, this is cool. Scale events. There's a client application, so it has access to the invoker and the receiver. There's the command. These commands, these two commands, they implement the I command. And the receiver is the one that triggers them, right? Kafka, yeah. Yeah, this is cool. I'm really interested in like these types of things, you know? Design patterns, architecture, stuff like that. We should do like a stream where we just like read a lot, dive deeper into these like individual design patterns. That'll be cool. That'll be really cool. Right, let's move on. Let's actually do that. Instead of having a separate command class for all of the commands, let's just have one command class for the authentication, and we'll move in the login command here as like a method. But we'll just put everything in one class so that we can have the same, you know, instance of the user's repository. And we can even do like a default value in here so that we don't need to instantiate it like necessarily. That can be done here. Cool. And I'm going to rename this actually to authentication. There we go. And I'm gonna close this, register self, username and password. And there's a login. And here's the request. So we need the request. We're just gonna like, I don't like this, but yeah, we'll keep it vague. All right, there's no types. Request, whatever that is. Just gonna move this here. We'll keep this in command. I know we're not supposed to, but yeah. Okay, so login, we can just delete that file. There's the authentication command. Accessed, okay, it is not accessed, so don't worry about that. What's the issue here? Indent block. It's probably because of this. Oh yeah, it probably needs a pass. There we go. Organize the imports. So we have the login here, and in here we are not gonna do, hold on, the commands. The command is not gonna be register, it's going to be, well, that's the thing, it's going to be just command. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there. We don't need a folder for that because we're not gonna have multiple commands. We're just gonna have one command, and I'm gonna name it command or commands. Okay. Oh, hold on a second now. This is the presentation. We're gonna get back to that. But in here, we actually, no, we're not gonna get back to that. We're gonna do that now. So In the presentation rest, we're gonna create a container.py, and this is where we're going to define, you know, the repositories and everything. So from authentication, infra database repository RDB import should show up, users repository, from authentication application commands import authentication command, and now we'll do auth underscore command equals, actually first we need the repository. I know we have it as like a fallback, but just in case. Auth command is authentication command, and we'll pass in the users repository equals users underscore repository. It says unknown. What do you mean unknown? Oh, because there's a typo. Users happy. So now in the, where's the rest? Here we're gonna do from dot container import auth command. Yeah. And now we're going to do dot login. There it is. Login. And accept this. Request username, password. There it is. Now this is the register API. Again, we're gonna do pretty much the same. From dot container import auth command. Yeah, auth command, and then here we're not gonna do register. We're gonna do basically auth command register, and we need to pass in the username and the password and nothing else, right? Hold on, let me just check this. Yeah. Okay, so both register and login are hooked up until, let me see, queries are also gonna be until the URLs. So I have login here. I just need the same copy this and do register from dot register import register, and then just use it here, right? Is there even a view register? Yes, there is a view. Oh, hold on. Yeah, wrong. VI this part, yank it and add it here inside. So it's going to be register, and now from dot register import register. There we go. So login and register. The API routes are defined. The views are also defined. They invoke the register command, registration successful and failed. And now if we go to the command itself, application commands, there's register. We don't do anything right now, but we will. We will. So first, let's finish this thing. We have the get user and create user. Let's do the logic now. So first, we'll do user equals self dot users underscore repository dot get underscore user. It should exist. There it is. Get user, and we'll pass in the username. If the user is not none, we need to raise. There it is again. We need to raise the user exists error, and that will come from authentication domain errors. Import domain errors, import errors.auth, import, there it is, user exists error. Organize it. There we go. If the user is not none, basically we want to register with this username, but the user is not none, it exists. We need to raise a user exists error. Beautiful. Not here. If not, we're golden. We can just go and say user again. There it is again. I need to fix this. User equals self.users repository create user, right? And then pass in pass in username and password, and that is going to trigger this block right here. Create user with the passwords. It's gonna hash it, return the user. That's going to put the user here, and then we'll just say probably just return user, right? There it is again. So SE does something. SA doesn't do anything. You see that? SA. But if I do SE, okay, I need to fix that. All in all, yeah, register looks okay now. We are starting to raise some exceptions. We need to raise one here. Instead of returning none, we need to raise like unauthorized or something like that. So let's go into the authentication, domain errors auth, user exists. Let's create a new one. Just authentication failed, right? We'll just do pass. We just need it as a separate class so that we can, we can do that. So raise authentication failed. Can we like also import this? I guess we can. There we go. Beautiful. So authentication failed. Login and register, they do look okay. So now I gotta go back into the views and fix this up a little bit. It's not gonna do this anymore. We need to try put this in, right? And it's always going to be, it's either gonna be existing or it's going to be authentication error. And try to find it. It doesn't say. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll import it by hand from authentication domain errors auth. Should be just errors. We are in the authentication, right? Let me fix that real quick. Oh, there it is. Failed. Authentication failed. Do we need an error in the name as well? I guess we do. Yes. User exists, error, authentication failed, error. Nice. Organize the imports, there we go. So we are gonna try to log in. And just like, we don't expect the user back, just try to log in and return success. If an exception happens, that's, you know, invalid credentials. Otherwise, I don't know, we're just gonna say something because we need something, right? We need to say something. What is the Python try except? Oh, just like a generic error probably. Oh, there is an except. Do not use bare except. Well, what happens and how can I do a catch-all if I should not use bare? And this is Pyrite. Yeah. Yeah, then let's just do except exception. It's still like a catch-all because exception, everything inherits, or you know, E doesn't work, just like except E doesn't work. We need a type. It's like a switch. All right, so this looks good. Let's see, register. A register should do the try catch as well. So try. Not catch, but accept. And this is going to be user exists error. And now let's bring in from authentication, domain, errors, auth, import. We'll bring in both of them, I guess. Or just one of them. Yeah, one of them. User exists. But if something else happens, we should just like say something. Still, I guess, bad request, but I don't know. This is the moment where we would like register the error in Sentry, because registration failed. Okay, like if the user exists, we don't need to track that. But if it's like an unexpected exception or unhandled exception by us, we need to know about that. But right now I'm just gonna return it. Don't do anything else. We don't return the user, so we can just say register and that's it. 201. Otherwise it's gonna be bad requests. Okay, so inside of the register, let's see what happens. Try to get the user. If it's not none, we erase that user exists. Otherwise, we try to create the user, and check this out. Aside from just creating the user, we actually need to log the user in, right? Let me restart Vim, because I see it's acting up a little bit. Nice. Okay, so yeah, we just create a user from the repository, but we do need to log it in, and for that we also need the request. So I guess register should also accept the request as well, right? And we'll just invoke user dot username, user dot password probably. The user is a user. The username exists. Yeah. Yeah, we need to invoke the login. Why? Because we need to attach it to the actual requests. Or maybe don't do the authenticate. Instead of self.login, we'll just do login. Right? And now we need to do the named. No? Username is string, password is string. Well, then what is it? Oh, it's just the user. There we go. Log in and pass it to the request so that we can, you know, attach it to the requests. But now in register, we also need the request itself. And now it's complete. Whew. I think we can try this out. Let's see. I'm gonna try. This should work. There we go. Success is true. And this is going to be login, but I'm going to duplicate this one and name it register. And now we're going to post on /register. The username is going to be, let's see, stream, and we'll just keep the password always password, right? So now we're registering the user. Registration failed. And we don't know why. Yep, we don't know why. Okay. Let's figure it out. We called this, and I'm gonna say here in the accept, I'm going to say something happened. Try again later, just so we can, you know. Let's do like a 500 one. Internal server, yes. Okay, let's register again. Something happened, try again later. Okay, so we are getting an exception, but it's not the user exists. It's not gonna be this one. It's probably this one. Okay, I added a little print statement that'll print out the error in case we can't do the create user, okay? Yeah, let's see now. Register again. It's not that one. Because we can't see any logs, so it's not that one. Let's move on. I'm just gonna undo this. If it's not that one, then maybe it's the login. Okay. It's not this one as well. What is it then? Greetings from Boston. Nice work, my friend. Thank you, Muyo. Welcome. If it's not this one, then what is? I need to set up debugging Django in NeoVim. That would be really cool. So like we can just like jump in line by line. Authentication command. What about here? I mean, it is here. Let's print it out here. Okay, print We should have started from the very top. Alright, so I'm gonna add a print here. Okay, try to register. User matching query does not exist. What? User matching query does not exist. Django user matching query does not exist. Oh, maybe it's the, yeah, it's most likely the get user, right? Oh, it's throwing that it doesn't exist. It's not just like returning none. Oh, well then. Okay. So we'll just go to the register command, and when we do this, we need to try catch this. Try accept this. Here. There we go. Okay. Try accept, and this was like a, yeah, user dot does not exist. There we go. There is an error, and we'll just raise our own exception instead. So we're replacing the ORM based error with our own error here, so we don't depend on the ORM, right? From authentication dot domain errors auth import user. We need a new one. User doesn't exist. User, actually, hold on a second. I'm not gonna raise it. I'm just gonna return none. I'm just gonna return none. We definitely need to like make a decision whether we want to do like throwing exceptions or returning exceptions. Been doing some reading in JavaScript that when you throw exceptions, you de-optimize the, what was it called? The hot path? Something like that. Yeah, like in JavaScript V8, as you invoke like the code, if you invoke one path multiple times, it's going to like shorten it, make it faster. That's like the optimization. It's caching. I think it was called internal caching or something like that. So it does that. When you're throwing exceptions, it needs to like stop, generate a stack trace, and let that bubble up. Result types for the win, yeah. But when you're returning instead of throwing, you don't put a sudden stop at the program. Like no stack traces need to be generated. No, there's no stop. When you do that, you just return a value, so it's much faster, and you do not de-optimize that happy path that the compiler I guess the compiler does, yeah. So I'm not sure about that in Python, but there's, yeah, in JavaScript there's this thing, never throw package. I've heard about this one. Pretty popular, as you can see. It's like 800,000 weekly, so really good. And yeah, it's basically a result generic. Yeah, exceptions should bubble up to the controller. Yeah, we did that in the clean architecture. And those should be ours. Don't mention monads. I don't even... I've read about them 3 times and I still don't know what monads are. I don't know. So yeah, in this case, In this case, we might as well just use the... Actually do this. I don't like how I sound right now. Yeah. Yeah, if we say user does not exist, let's just return none and that's it. If it's none, user exists. See that? Yeah. See that? Look at this. This one throws a user does not exist. This one catches that user does not exist and throws user exists. So we can't register because user exists. But when we said get user, it says user, you know. I mean, yeah, it's either gonna be one or the other. I guess that's the... If it's none, it's gonna throw... If it's not none, it's gonna say user exists. If it's none, it's going to register it. That's the thing. So if we're raising here, should we raise here? Should we like keep it... Should we keep it consistent, you know? Like in this case, we have a command. The command should raise an exception so the controller can handle it. But in this case, the repository, if it returns none, then it's none. It doesn't exist. If it returns, you know, unless it's an error, then we should handle it in a different way. But let's just reach that point, I guess. We'll keep it like this. If it's not none, then user exists for registration, right? So now we should be able to register. Or I'm missing something. Let's see. The username is gonna be stream. There we go. Success is true. Registration is successful. Oh yeah, find user actually. That's better. Thank you, Evie. Let's do that. We'll rename this to find user. We'll just pass the username. There we go. All right, so let's go back to Beekeeper. These are the users. I'm just gonna refresh this. Bam, there's stream. It's not a super user. There's nothing like email, last name, first name, no stuff. It is active. This is the date. It's now because it's in UTM. You need to wait until you consume this class and where you want to handle errors. Yeah. And there's the password. It's already hashed. So this is good. So that means we can go back and log in with Millionaire. It's gonna say logged in, but if I say stream, it's gonna say logged in as well. If you say passwords, it's gonna say invalid credentials. So there's our authentication, right? We have the most basic authentication that also does a set cookie, etc, etc. Cool. Get throws when nothing is there, but find returns null or equivalent if not exists. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Thank you, Evie. I want to say this. When we do register for the same, it says registration failed. Right, we can just say user exists, but I'm just gonna say registration, you know, failed. But let's actually register, you know, another user with a dash. Registration successful, and we can also see the set cookie. See that? We have the set cookie. That means the browser is going to set the session cookie, session ID, and yeah, the next request is going to be authenticated. That means in this case we can redirect the user to the app, the dashboard. I don't know. Cool. Well, this is it. This is, yeah. This is the basic, or we're also missing a logout. Let's see, because I saw something in Django for logging out. Log user out, just log out. Well, let's just do that then. It's gonna be super simple. There's login, and then we'll just say def logout. We just need the request. It's going to infer it. And just log out, I guess. Okay. We have the login, we have the register, and I'm just gonna copy this one to log out. Log out. Let's do like a lowercase. And we're not gonna do username and password this time. We're just gonna do log out and delete until this and just say log out. I don't think there's gonna be like a try and catch, but so I'm going to remove this one. Logged out. We don't need this specific error, and that's it. And I'm gonna say invalid credentials. I'm just gonna say unable logging out failed. A delete request. Let's see. What is the usual? Like for creation is posts, which I thought at first that it was gonna be put. I always thought that creating resources we should use put. For updating we should use patch. Yeah. No, totally. Let's ask the robot. Let's see if the robot knows like what is a common, you know, what is the most common HTTP method type for logging out users. Is it like delete? It's post says, because logging out often involves making a change on the server, invalidating a session or token. And according to the specification, it can be get, but it can be delete, yeah. Okay. This one says post. Just keep it as post, I guess. Yeah. Now let's just hook it up. This is our login, register, and we should just add another one for logouts. Login, log out, and register. That's how it likes it. There we go. Okay. Let's try the logout then. Duplicate. Log out, and there's not going to be anything in the body. I'm just gonna save this, and I need to go and toggle these two. So for login, I'm gonna try to log in with Stream. It's probably because I already have the cookie. And I'm gonna come in here and host logout. No, that's not true. Yeah, if you're using a session, cookie versus a token. Yeah. No, let's see why we're getting this. Well, okay, then store the received cookie. Don't send it, store it. And now here, automatically send it. Nope. See, this is going to be pretty weird. We're still getting this. Why? Session authentication. We are using that. So I guess we need to go into Rapid API and try to like clear the cookies somehow. This one says logged out, but I don't have a session. If I automatically send the cookies, which is here, it fails because we have that. Okay, let's see. It says the robot. Because the CSRF token that needs to be part of the form, and we're not rendering the form with Django, so there's no way for us to like pass the CSRF token anyways to the React application. If we need to do that, if we have to do that, that means that Django has to serve the React application. We're not doing that. That means we should completely like disable CSRF because we can't use that. The backend and the backend does not serve the frontend. Therefore, you can't really pass, generate and pass the. Just like isn't it gonna say like failed again? Let's see. XCSRF. What was the token name? There's the just token. Yeah. Empty. Yeah. Something else. Yeah, it's just gonna complain because it doesn't exist, right? It's not generated. It doesn't know the token. Yeah, JWT will definitely be a better solution. I'm gonna remove this for now. So let's see, if you're using the session authentication, you're using Django's authentication, which usually requires CSRF. Let's go ahead and check out the settings.py. This is it here. Yeah, we're definitely not doing SSR. I want to keep these two separated. And there's the authentication middleware. So this authentication middleware is basically forcing us to do CSRF, right? So we did this for nothing. Let's say this. If we're using the built-in authentication middleware, or just like authentication implementation in Django, does that limit us? Does that limit us from only allows us? Does that only allows us to do SSR? I'm getting CSRF token errors because I'm just token errors. I hope it understands. Does not limit you. CSRF token errors typically occur when you're interacting with Django's authentication views or API endpoints using methods like post. Then how? These errors often arise because Django requires a valid CSRF token for state modifying requests. Ensure the CSRF token is included in your front-end requests. Is this... And document.query selector name CSRF middleware token. Dude, how? How am I going to put this in the DOM so that I can query it? Oh, it doesn't limit you SSR, but put this like how? That means I need to render this on the server to generate the server to put it into the DOM, like in the HTML, return it back so that I can get it. But it says it does not limit you to do server-side rendering, and it does server-side rendering here. Yeah, it's like that is server-side rendering. I don't want to. That's what I said, right? Does it limit us? And it says no, it doesn't limit you, but you should still do. You'll need a bundle from Vite and let Django included. There's a simple JWT. Yeah, ChatGPT is wrong. And it says default authentication says JWT authentication. Token obtain, token refresh. Yeah, let's see. Maybe we should have looked at the DRF tutorials because they have authentication permissions. We're gonna make a couple of changes to the snippet model. Let's add a couple of fields. One of those fields will be used to represent the user who created the code snippet. Store the highlighted HTML. Still, we're talking about HTML. Oh, this just includes API auth, include REST framework URLs, that's it? Oh. Look at that. Add a CSRF token to your request. Well, yeah, but like how? Django provides it via the CSRF token view or cookies. But that's not like security. If there's an endpoint that returns the CSRF token, then I can just do that and still post from Rapid API, you know? That's the point, right? So that others, like only the web application that you build can send requests with the cookie that is, you know, sent from the server, but not like third-party applications. In this case, we just want to disable the CSRF like completely. We don't need it. We're building an API, right? Let's see. you're using session authentication, then you'll need to include a CSRF token for any post, put, patch, or delete. Following the same flow that the JavaScript-based client would use. First, make a GET request in order to obtain a CSRF token, then present that token in the following requests. Yeah. Definitely JWT. Yeah, let's just go in, and in that case I need to change the go to authentication. Where was that? I just saw that now. This thing. And that's because of this. Where is the settings? Oh yeah, we don't even have the settings for the framework. Okay, let's see. Did we saw that here? I think we did, yeah. Basic authentication, session authentication. Those are the things that we need to change. There we go. REST framework default authentication. So we probably need the simple JWT. Probably need to install like the simple, let's see, basic token. Simple, because that's it. Oh, this is a bearer token, yeah. If it's a session, that's why we're doing that. If it's a basic, and there's a remote user as well. Oh yeah, this is for the remote user backend. Like if we keep users, if we have like a super tokens instance and we handle authentication there, our Django application is gonna use this one. Yeah, it has, we'll probably need to do the simple JWT, yeah. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so what does this do? It aims to cover the most common use case of JWTs, offering a conservative set of default. All right, let's just like get started and see. We add this to the requirements. If you're planning on encoding and decoding tokens, we gotta do this. For the default authentication, we need to add this one instead of the session, which is the default one. Then there's this, the token and the refresh, so that we can obtain the token and also include a route for simple JWT's token verify view, which allows API users to verify HMAC signed tokens without having access to your sign-in key. So when we ask for the token, we pass in username and passwords. And then it gives us the access token, which is our JVT, and also the refresh token, which we'll use when the access token expires. We use to obtain a new one. And then we set bearer, and that's it. You can use the longer lived refresh token to obtain another access one. Okay. But this is still like doing the refresh stuff. So this means that we're not gonna have any login routes. Maybe just like a register, because this would be the login route /API/token. Let's see. Okay, we can customize them, yeah. 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 Rotate refresh tokens. When this is set to true, a refresh token is submitted. A new refresh token will be returned along with the new access token. Okay. So I guess we need this. Yeah. That breaks the benefits of using JVT. Yeah. Alright, so let's go with this then. Let's go with this, but we're gonna do this on Monday. Alright, so for Monday, we'll just write this down so that we can be prepared. We're going to implement simple JWT. Yeah, this was still fun because we get to, you know, like do the actual login, and we made it work without the, you know, the cookies and stuff. And if we were rendering views, then no issue here. We would just like, you know, keep working on this. But yeah, I think it's better if we keep these two separated, like the backend and the front end. So we need to implement simple JWT so that, you know, we can have like an easier life. Cool. So this has been fun, and it's already like 3.5 hours of stream. So yeah, let's cut it here. Cool. We got to move past that that old issue we ran when it comes to the router and stuff like that. And yeah, so let's figure out simple JWT on Monday, same time. Just like always, 9 a.m. EST. So yeah, Even it was a pleasure to seeing a great engineer explain cool design patterns of a project file structure. Thanks, man. Yeah, those are like I see them as like the most fun things in software engineering. The cat doesn't care. The cat doesn't. He's like just maintain my bowl of food and water full. Keep quiet when I'm sleeping, like right now, and there will be no problems. That's what the cat says. All right, so yeah, this was a good stream, everyone. We can get going. Yeah, we're still exploring. I wish we had something to show. We don't have anything to show right now, but that's what happens when you learn new programming languages, new frameworks, new everything, basically. Even the keyboard is, you know, holding me back in a way because it acts up. SE does that weird escape thing. I think TH does like a swap, and this is all because of the home row mods. I'm gonna look into those during the weekend and have that fixed, but I'm still getting used to this. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I hope this was a fun stream. I'm gonna see you again on Monday at the same time. In the meantime, if I do some reading and stuff, don't forget to join my Discord. Let me actually put the link in. There we go. Yeah, don't forget to join my Discord. I'm gonna post messages, you know, over there. There's a channel called Millionaire. Cheers, Aaron. All right, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining. Have a good weekend, and I'm gonna see you in the next one on Monday. Take care.